Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tradesman Experience. This is the podcast built by tradesmen for tradesmen. My name is Josh, and in the virtual studio on the screen is, of course, Mr. Nate Newton. Nate, how are you, sir?
No, we're just trying to make up for last week with that little debacle when fucking we were sitting down ready to record and the fucking lightning hit one of the transformers and knocked the power out. It didn't end up coming back on until like 7, so good thing we didn't sit around and wait.
I didn't want to wait. That's 9 my time.
Right.
So pulled an ace out of the sleeve, had Katie come on.
Yeah, that was a good episode, man. I really I appreciate her doing that because it, for one, it just proves to everybody that she's real and Josh isn't just running with the AI girlfriend or something,
A blow up sheep with an AI voice.
Right,
yeah. Nope, she is real. And I've gotten quite a bit of great feedback from that conversation and opening the window a little bit into our life and kind of how we operate. Yeah, it was good. Like I said, I got quite a few messages and guys talking to me about their relationships and things that they do and what they kind of pulled from it. So
yeah,
good feedback. She did really well for her, especially for her first time. She did really well.
Right. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I didn't do that well my first time. So,
oh, she's way better than we were when we first got on here. Guarantee it. So, but because in my office to my left is the couch, not the leather chair, but I have a couch in here.
Oh, so you really have a casting couch.
I really have a casting couch now. So to help her nerves and make it comfortable, I set it up over there, put a mic boom over there, ran everything over there, let her be comfortable. And I navigated this whole station and just got it done.
Your captain's chair?
Yeah. Zoom, more lighting, less lighting, ambiance. Wait, wrong channel.
Right.
So, no, I was proud of her for doing that. And something I'd like to do a few times a year, get her on here and talk about some stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be good to see the evolution of it,
Yeah. I listened to your episode with Kevin on Welding Business Owner podcast.
Oh yeah. That was a fun I usually don't get sit down and just like talk that side of it, So that was good. I enjoyed it a lot. Kevin's a great dude. So
yeah.
I think the last one's gonna be dropping here on Monday. Mine's only a 2-parter. I didn't have he said he usually goes like 3 or 4 hours. And I was like, damn.
Yeah, but he's got history with us. You were on that one as well.
Yeah.
But when I think you told me originally that you had sat down and done a recording, and I was like super excited because every time we do an interview, we talk about Battleborn, but we talk about the podcast and we talk about the coaching and we talk about, this lane. You never sat down and talked about Battleborn Welding as Battleborn Welding.
Right.
It's always like Battleborn Welding as Tradesman Experience podcast.
Right.
So I was super excited that he had the thought to separate those and have you come back on and talk about as a welding business owner. I was really excited for that. And I enjoyed the first part of that conversation. So
hopefully it finishes strong. So we recorded it weeks ago, so I can't remember how it went, but
yeah, sometimes that's fun too. You get on and there's like a surprise. I don't remember saying that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's me every Monday, but still.
Yeah.
But no, I was glad to see that. So also, as of this recording, yesterday, so July 29th, we officially launched the first Blue Collar Boot Camp.
Oh, nice.
And so that's the business that I have with Greg, which is Blue Collar Insiders. And we launched the first boot camp, and I'm so fucking stoked. I think we got over a dozen companies in there for the first one, Battleborn Welding being one. But the community that we're going to be able to build, the accessibility people are going to have with each other, and then the structured, recorded content to be able to navigate through that. It's going to be really, really beneficial for people to have access to information and digest it at a pace that's more digestible
Mhm.
for a lot of
Right.
business owners.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Even
because like, when we did the crash course, when we
mhm,
were one of your first clients, and that was a lot, like, it was a lot. But I mean, we were coaching every week,
mhm,
which, you ended up even moving away from that because you realized that how difficult it is to start, addressing a lot of that stuff. You gotta
mhm.
kinda do it in bite-sized chunks, to have something that's actually feasible to get done.
Right.
But, I mean, we were so removed, as in we didn't fucking know anything. So, like, you had to start from, like, ground level with us and fucking, start building it up. So, but then we're going into coaching with Greg tomorrow. Is our first session with him. So, uh, we're excited to get the numbers under control
Mhm,
and, make sure that we're job costing properly. Now that we've got like 6 months under our belts with job tread, and that's a fucking game changer right there and
mhm.
alone. So being able to integrate job tread with Greg and be able to make sure that we're reading the financials properly, like, that's going to be huge.
I have Eric with Job Tread coming back on the podcast.
Oh, nice. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. They have their annual summit in January. It's called Job Tread Connect,
Hmm.
and so we're gonna kinda dive into that, what that looks like, introduce more people in. I'm interested in hear about their growth and evolution as a company and what they've done.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I reached out to him the other day, and he's agreed to come back on and for us to catch up. So, it is I can't tell you how many clients I have now that are on Job Tread. I mean, everybody has really moved and transitioned into that program, and everybody tells me the same thing. This
Yeah,
thing is fucking awesome.
it is. It is. It's almost like a thumb on the pulse of your company. It's right here, right now.
Mhm,
Of course, it's only as good as the information you input into it. But now we have Becca here, who's fucking crushing it, and every invoice that comes in or goes out, it's all being tracked and recorded, and yeah, it's giving us a much better
mhm.
direction on how, especially on the estimating side, it's helping me out tremendously. We get to see in real time what it takes to do this stuff. So
What because I haven't been there, obviously.
mhm.
What's the implementation in the field look like with Job Tread right now? Because I know you guys were setting up kind of the internal workings first. What have you been
Yeah.
able to implement some of that?
Oh, yeah, yeah, no, everybody uses it every day. They clock in and out on it. Um, we also have daily logs, which, so if the guys get done at the end of the day, they put in what they got done, what specific parts, so we know
Mhm,
exactly where we're at progress-wise on the project. But then if they fucking need bolts, if they need tools, if they need something, they put that in their daily log, so that way if somebody else has to go up there, they can jump in and help.
mhm,
So, and then the guys, once they get to the site every morning, they all pull out, the whoever the foreman is will pull out their phone and be like, okay, this is what we did yesterday. Oh, that's right. I forgot we needed, I grabbed these bolts. We need to go put these things in. So, like, all that little nuance stuff, it's really helping us button up our operations. Um, and then the guys, just them being able to clock into certain line items. So
mhm.
if we have like structural installation, they're clocked in under that. So we know exactly how many hours are going to what part of the project. So that's helping a lot.
Have you been uploading details or prints or that kinda
Mhm.
stuff?
Yeah,
Nice.
I upload the bid sets, and then I upload the steel detailing for each project that I bid. So those are
Mhm,
already in there once we get awarded the job. And then if I got change orders, those are going in there. The guys are taking photos every day on project that goes into their daily logs. So like we can actually see what they got done. We're not just
mhm.
reading words. Like sometimes it's hard to materialize that, you know.
Yeah,
So it's freeing up Matt and I a lot to do things we need to be doing instead of micromanaging
mhm.
the projects. So, and like, I read the logs every morning when I get in, and I notice that there's some sort of problem, so I can call the guys and just be like, "Hey, so what exactly with this thing was going on?" And then, I we can either help kind of troubleshoot a little
Mhm.
bit, or that we just know what's going on now, which is fucking huge.
Yeah. Do do your foremen have tablets or is everybody on the phone?
Yeah, well, so we're moving John into a leadership position, so he doesn't have one right now, but Danny's got one and Zach's got one. And
Okay.
uh Zach's has data on it, so he has access to all of our files via the cloud. So anything he needs, he can pull it
Mhm.
up right away.
Okay. Well, you are getting ready to set up a 3rd truck
Yep.
for Battleborn Welding
Yeah, our ornamental
and
truck.
the ornamental truck, and I know John's truck is probably done now. It's got lettering on it now, I think.
Yeah, it's got badges on it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So his is about set up, so he'll be getting a tablet soon, and then you guys are
Mhm.
getting ready to, modify that box truck out there
Yep. Yep.
for an
That's gonna be a
ornamental.
cool little
I think so.
truck for ornamental. But we were even talking about it. We might even need to get another structural truck too. So,
Mhm,
but gotta see where we're heading, you know.
mhm.
So
The great thing about working with Greg is you can see what the numbers say about making that next investment,
mhm.
buying a truck, investing in this one, even hiring. What he teaches, the calculator that he has, and what he does, he's got it broken down to where you can plug in numbers and it answers those questions. Can we afford to bring somebody on? Yes or no? Yes. What can we
Mhm.
afford to pay them? This. Can we afford to buy a truck? What's that payment going to do to our overhead? What's that going to add? His calculator, it simplifies all of those decisions for you so they're no longer emotional, they're
Mhm.
financial.
Right, right. Yeah, and that's I think having the ability to read those financials makes it so easy to not be emotional,
Mhm.
you know? Like, you're like, "Hey, we can either afford it or we fucking can't." Like,
Yep. Yeah, the emotion is either pissed or excitement. It's
right,
like,
right,
"Fuck, we
yeah,
can't afford it." "Yay, we
right,
can."
yeah.
That's one of the big things I'm so excited about him being on board, and we're doing all of that in the boot camp,
Mhm,
and, the first boot camp is the enrollment's closed for the first boot camp, the founding members. It's a founding member group.
mhm,
The second one, we're gonna be launching in, let's say, 6 weeks-ish.
mhm,
Um That way we're gonna have 2 in parallel, but they're not gonna overlap entirely. It'll be
mhm,
probably halfway through. We're gonna launch the 2nd boot camp for this year, and then that's gonna take us into the holidays, and then we'll see what we're gonna do till after the 1st of the year where we start launching them again. But
mhm.
to have access to that, to have access to Greg, to have access to the computer or the calculator, have access to the toolbox, have access to us, that boot camp is gonna provide all of that. So
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah.
yeah, super pumped, about that. One of the thoughts that I had recently, and honestly, as always, being in the coaching, having conversations, answering questions, seeing patterns, spent a lot of time with Greg today. We've been building this whole boot camp and restructuring the coaching. There are things that I tend to rediscover,
Mhm,
and topics come up. And what I wanted to discuss tonight was the like, when do you need to lead and when do you need to manage?
mhm,
Now, I do want to preface this by saying something that I always say because I don't want someone to say that I'm contradicting myself. I
mhm,
always say that you manage systems and you lead people.
mhm,
And that is the formula that you want. You
mhm,
can't Nobody wakes up every day and says, "I'm so excited to go to work today because I'm going to be managed."
mhm.
No one says that. No one, and yet so many businesses operate every day in a capacity where they just continuously try to manage people. And what managers do is they manipulate people to do things that make the managers look good. The
Mhm,
managers have a metric or a goal or something that they are told that they have to hit, and then they manage and manipulate the people to hit the goal, and the people aren't first on their priority. Leaders understand the goal, but they influence the people to achieve the goal, and everybody wins. And I still stand by that. So I wanted to say that because some of the stuff we're going to talk about may
Yeah.
seem like a contradiction.
Mhm. I can't wait for all the misspelled hate mail that you're gonna get from this, so
So true. You said this. Be like,
yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
and I stand by that.
Mhm.
But anytime that you, I'm gonna start that sentence over. First of all, when you decide to start a business or even get into a leadership role, it's going to be harder than you think. It's going to take longer than you think, and the result's not going to be what you expected.
Mhm. Yep. I
Right?
am living testament to that, yeah.
So I think it's important to know that this is not a clear cut path. This is not a cookie cutter recipe to say, well, if I do A plus B, I get C. The reality is, you don't know what you don't know until you get in there and you get your teeth kicked in
Mhm.
and you continue to do it. And one of the things that I heard from Alex Hermosi recently was, when people start criticizing what you're doing and judging what you're doing and all this kind of shit, it's because they're measuring success in days.
Mhm.
Successful business owners and successful entrepreneurs measure the success in decades.
Mhm. Right.
And that's the difference. Is you have to go in this anticipating to play the long game.
Mhm.
Regardless of you whether or not you do, right? If you build the company up and sell it, that's fine. But if you go in anticipating to play the long game, it gives you a completely different perspective.
Mhm.
So again, that I'm saying all of that because until you have a business, until you run a business, until you've hired people and fired people and that kind of stuff, some of this isn't even going to make sense to you.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah,
You
I mean, it's, you know, if you're looking at the here and now, some of the moves that somebody that is building a business right now, you have 0 fucking idea what they're going through, and that's why their decisions don't make any sense to you, you know? And not to say that just because you're building a business that you make good decisions, we've seen plenty of
Mhm,
fucking dipshits out there, but I mean, even just my decision making in the last fucking 3 years it's completely different than what I was doing 3 years ago, you know?
mhm.
And I don't think it would have made any sense to me, if I could see the decisions I'm making now, like it would be very counterintuitive to what I thought I needed to be doing. You know? Yeah.
But I think that's really smart because it's a testament to maturity. And I think that the more reps you put in, the better you look, right?
Mhm.
And
Right.
you have that data and you have that foresight. So anyway, I really wanted to lay that out before I start sounding like we're
Mhm.
contradicting ourselves, because when you come all the way back to leadership and you come back to management and you come back to system management and leading people, the there is no clear cut path of leadership. To me, it's the hardest thing. It's the
Mhm.
people are the hardest thing of business, and leading people is the hardest thing of business. If you could completely operate your company on systems only, where you had people that showed up that didn't have questions, that didn't have emotions, that didn't have a fight with their spouse, that didn't have a shitty night of sleep, that didn't have all of these variables and factors of life. If you had people show up every day and didn't do that, and they plugged themselves into an operating system, then leadership wouldn't exist and there wouldn't be a need for it to exist.
Mhm.
But that's not the case.
That's not the fucking case.
We fucking work we work with people every single day that also make decisions.
Mhm.
And sometimes those decisions have consequences and sometimes those decisions have winning results. And sometimes people decide to stay up till 3 a.m. playing Fortnite when they have to be at work at 6:30,
Mhm.
or they stay up drinking on a Wednesday night, which I have done. They stay up, they stay up making bad decisions, or something else happens. It's not a perfect path. It's not a perfect recipe. So as a leader and as a business owner, you have to recognize, when is it appropriate to manage people.
Mhm.
The first simplest example I can give you to kind of understand this conversation is that when you're onboarding someone,
Mhm.
the onboarding process is a micromanagement phase of that individual
Mhm.
being brought into your company.
Yeah, and we're doing that with one of our new guys. His name's Josh. He was a machinist. He wanted to change industries, and so he came in as a greenhorn. And I mean, the guys are, like, we're kind of at the point now where Matt and I don't really need to be the one doing the onboarding.
Mhm,
We have a big enough crew. We have a skilled enough crew to do that. But just watching the leaps and bounds that that kid has made because we are micromanaging the shit out of him
mhm,
right now. And like if you got people that are green, you have to manage them. You have to. You have to be in the shit with them, or somebody does.
mhm.
That's teaching them the right ways to do things. I mean, if you think about, and when I think about like all the knowledge I have from the pipeline industry, that took me 12 years to get all that. I can take a lot of time off of training somebody with that information,
Mhm.
you know, and um, I think that I think we had a tendency when we first started doing this onboarding stuff that we were cutting them loose too soon. That
Agreed.
that onboarding process, it doesn't, just because if they're advancing by leaps and bounds, good, stay on that.
Advance
Like
your
why?
onboarding, like, advance your
Yeah,
micromanagement, like,
right.
don't release it, don't turn it off.
Well, I think that's the thing is people start to see a little bit of success with it, and they think, oh, okay, well, this kid's sharp, he's got it. Well, now that you're not doing the things you're doing before, well, now their advancement's going
Mhm,
to start to stagger, and that's been a huge part of having the crew that we do now is they're able to step up and take over, like especially the
mhm.
skill side of it. 'Cause you got to manage the skills with the people.
Yeah. The onboarding process is to do exactly what you said. It's to expedite their ability in your company, expedite their ability to understand your systems, expedite their ability to understand your culture. And I tell people it's not a gauntlet. You're not putting people through a gauntlet to see if they survive.
Hmm.
You're compressing 12 months of the way most people do it in this lackadaisical method of poor management, and you're doing it in 30 days. That way you have an opportunity to make a decision together to move forward together. So
Hmm.
it's not about weeding out them out. That's your fucking interview process. You can't use the onboarding process as your filtering process. That's your fucking interview process,
Right, right, right.
right? So when you look at how, let's kind of go back to the management side. What does it mean when someone doesn't manage appropriately? So I'll give you some of the things that I think of, and then you can share what you've got. But one is, they don't allow you to make decisions. Okay,
Hmm.
when you've got someone that doesn't allow you to make decisions, they're immediately in a position where they're managing you. Second is if they give you responsibility without authority.
Hmm.
So, which means they want you to take the blame, and they still, but you can't make any decisions,
Right.
right? So you have responsibility without authority. Um, and then two is you're not allowed to communicate anything to your team. It all has to come from the position of management,
Hmm.
right? So the power of decision making is one of the big things that I see in a management culture. It's like you do what I say, but and don't change it without my permission.
Hmm.
So for me, when I look at management, those are some of the highlights that I recognize that it's like this is kind of how we're going to operate that culture.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also you have gatekeeping of information and gatekeeping of
Mhm,
resources, and that kind of goes with that where the information's got to go from top down. But I mean, we don't have fucking lock boxes on anything around here,
mhm,
you know, like we don't have tools locked away. We don't have consumables locked away. Like i if we can't trust you to use the shit appropriately, then you're probably not here anyway. Like it, that's just nonsense,
mhm.
But I mean, I've dealt with that, previous employers where, fuck, dude. I remember there was a job I was doing in Silmar. You got some new fucking project manager, guy's a fucking dipshit, and hey, like, hey, I need you to go out to Silmar. You're gonna be out there for about 6 months. I said, okay, what are the joints paying? We don't know yet. I'm like, oh fucking shit, dude. You you bid the job at a piece price.
You
So I
sold it.
know you yeah. Well, the thing is, I guess he was doing this on other projects. He was waiting until they got out and he saw how long it would take him to do a joint and was adjusting their piece prices.
Mm,
So because you did it faster,
you make less.
you're gonna make less money.
Fuck.
Go fuck yourself. Yeah. That was like the beginning of the decline. That was I think I
Mhm,
got stuck on that Somar project. I didn't even finish it. I think I was gone in like 6 months or so, or I was gone in like 2 or 3 months or something like that. But yeah, it was wild because I had never had, I had been with the company for 11 years at that point, and then it's like, what do you mean you don't know my prices?
mhm,
Like, yes, you do. You're just trying to fuck me out of a couple
mhm,
extra bucks. Come to find out, there was profit sharing that was going on with that, and so
mm,
yeah,
mhm. So the faster you were, the bigger piece of pie he had. Yeah.
yep, yep,
Yeah, and that's a great example of a manager, right?
hmm
That's someone that's trying to manage people for self-gain, for
yeah,
self-benefit, and
oh
trying to
yeah,
manipulate that. So,
hmm
yeah, that's a good example. I liked your point of gatekeeping information because that's
hmm
exactly what managers do.
yep,
If you're not, "No, you don't have access to this. You have to come to me because
hmm
I have the information."
yeah. Well, and like there is some stuff that we need to gatekeep a little bit, like so one of the other cool parts about job tread is that I can adjust who has access to what information
Mhm,
via job tread. So I have Danny and Zach are both on administrative. So they go in and they verify time cards and do all this other stuff. They have access to all the bids. They know how much money is going in and out, or not. They don't have
mhm,
access to the bank accounts, but they can see. And when you start seeing a bunch of red numbers on those project lists where
mhm,
money's being hemorrhaged, it's like they see the impact of what it looks like when we fuck stuff up, you know? Like, oh, you guys cut these beams 10 inches too short? That's fucking 6 grand.
mhm,
That's just a material. That's not including all the time we already spent putting it in. Now we got to go refab it and go put it in again. Like those 10 inches cost us 10 grand,
mhm.
you know?
I like that example because it proves the dichotomy. It proves the dichotomy because what you're really doing is you're not ultimately managing the people in that scenario. You're managing the system to fit the role that the people play.
hmm
So you're still leading the people, you still have a system, but you're managing the system. You're
hmm
managing accessibility to the system. You are managing the transfer of information, but you're managing it to the role, not that the person plays. So now you get to lead the people and they work with the information that they have. But their foremans have more information. So their
hmm
foremans can make decisions because they're empowered and they have access to better information.
hmm
That that's a healthy structure of people and system management.
hmm Yeah. And it's worked out really well, like, cause then, you know, I'm already dealing with 6 fucking plan sets on my table right now. I'm actively working on 6 different bid sets. My mind's all over the place. I don't wanna go read the fucking plans to tell my foreman what to do in the field.
Mhm,
I want him to have full access to that shit and just grab it and go. But I also don't want some of these younger guys that we have that I don't need them having access to all of our numbers. That because they don't understand what it actually costs to fucking run
mhm.
this business. Like Danny does all the ordering for the shop. He knows exactly how much we spend just in fucking consumables every month.
Yeah.
He's got a better understanding of it. And so it's just like I limit the access to shit like that because one, they don't need to know it. It doesn't benefit them in any way. And all it
Exactly.
does is lead to shitty conversations about people's pay. Well, you guys are charging this much. And it's like, dude, you have no fucking idea, man. Like, and that's another one of those wild things where you start getting these younger guys in that they want it, they always want to make the most amount of money right off the bat, which whatever, I get it. But it's like, okay, well, if you guys fuck shit up, do we get to pay you less?
Mhm,
Like you did good on one thing, but all that other shit you fucked up that damaged our fucking
mhm.
profit margin, do I get to pay you less when that happens? You know?
Right.
So, like, that's an awkward conversation I've been having lately. It fucking pisses me off every time I have to have it.
And, that's one of the interesting things is being able to, for sake of this conversation, manage those conversations, right? How are you managing that? Uh, it is an opportunity to lead people because that goes back to clearly defined RREs
Mhm,
and what is the pay structure within that role
mhm,
and what is the growth plan for that individual to meet that.
mhm.
And you and I were joking about this, but until you get your 10,000 hour patch, like,
Yeah.
you can shut the fuck up.
Right,
I
yeah,
mean, seriously, I mean,
yeah.
you should be worried about getting your next 1,000 hours.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah,
how am I going to get better
focus
at
on the
at this?
craft to make yourself more fucking
Uh,
valuable instead
what's
of
my
focusing
growth
on
plan?
right.
Right? Getting better as a person, getting better at communication, getting better at organization, getting better at system implementation, getting better at the craft.
Mhm,
Like, you want more money? The fucking money is a result.
mhm,
It's a metric for the value that you bring. You wanna make more money? Ask better questions. What
mhm,
do I need to do to earn this reward, to earn more money? Great,
mm,
let's visit your growth plan.
mhm,
Okay, you've been here, you've been in the industry for a year, okay? So that's approximately 2,000 hours in the industry, all right? How many of those hours do you think you have on the welder?
mhm,
Probably 500. Okay, so we've got MIG, we've got stick, we've got TIG. How many hours do you think you have on each one of those?
mhm,
How many hours do you have on the chop saw? How many hours do you have on the bandsaw? How many hours do you have on a cutting torch? How many hours do you have blending? How
mhm.
many like, I'm not even in the fucking industry and I can ask
Right,
these
right, yeah,
questions,
right, right,
right?
right.
But it's like you wanna earn more money. So that again, so that's a good example of managing the system. And you do have to manage the person, at least that you have to manage the conversation.
Mhm,
And anyone that is in that's not in an ownership or leadership role, the number one thing that you should be focusing on is what is your growth plan?
mhm,
That's the number one fucking thing you should be focused on for you as an individual to get better is what is your growth plan?
mhm.
You want to
Yeah.
make more money? Give me a growth plan.
Mhm. Well, I mean, like, and we've started setting up workshops, for because we have a list of like, hey, to make top tier money, these are all the things you have to do, and there's tests involved in them. But we were doing workshops on Fridays, every other Friday we were doing workshops. Now we're fucking slammed, and everybody's working 50 plus
Mhm.
hours a week. So now we don't have time for them, and people are kind of getting upset with us about it. And it's like, hey, like, most of you have only been here for a couple of months. Like, calm the fuck down. Like, we got to get the work done first.
Mhm.
That's first and foremost. You're gonna learn how to do a lot of this shit just doing the fucking work.
Okay, so let's talk about that again because what's the question behind the question? The question behind the question is, hey, is there an evening or a Saturday morning available where we can still do our workshop?
Mhm.
It's a
Yeah,
fucking
that
question behind the question.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It's like, but people don't want to come in on a Saturday for it. Yeah. Well, I guess you don't really want to make that money then, do you?
Thank you.
Yeah.
You want your fucking 10,000 hour badge, but you want to do it with convenience.
Mhm. Yep.
Fuck your comfort and your
Right.
convenience.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, like,
Yeah.
I don't, I want to say that I really don't expect people to, to do what I did coming up in the
Mhm.
HVAC industry and, and what you and Matt did in the pipeline industry. And we've talked to Coleman, we've talked to Velada, we've talked to, um, was it, is it JT? No,
Holden.
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 Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked to Holden. To be honest with you, a lot of guys aren't going to do that.
Mhm.
And again, the way that I worked to earn my badge in the HVAC industry, I really don't expect people to do that. But you have to be realistic. And when I say you, I'm talking to the people that want more money. Like, you have to be realistic about the result and reward, the cause and effect, the give
Yeah.
and receive.
Mhm. Yeah. And I mean, like, and just knowing what my mentality was when I was coming up, that I cared about the craft. I wanted to be the biggest swinging dick when it came to it. I don't think I ever asked for a raise. I just got to a point where I was so fucking undeniable. It was like, okay, well, you're gonna make
Mhm,
full piece price on your shit, you know? So it's just kind of a I guess I knew that the result was
mhm.
gonna be there. I just
Yep.
had to go fucking bust my ass and get it done, you know?
Well, that's because and I know back in the OG days of pipelining, you had good leaders,
Mhm.
you
Yeah,
know?
we had some crotchety old graybeards that yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
I did have to ask for raises because I never had a good leader. I had managers,
Mhm.
and managers are gonna hold on to that. You can't have a conversation about a growth plan with a manager.
Yeah,
First of all, their fucking
absolutely.
head will probably explode because they don't
Yeah,
understand what you're saying.
right. Well, and I feel like that's another downfall of a manager is that they feel like they have to keep your wages down.
Mhm,
Instead of using the wages to leverage the behavior that you want like a leader would,
mhm.
they're trying to keep your wages down just to whatever make those fucking profit lines look like they're supposed to. You know, like there's these welding jobs around here that, you know, the top tier guy is making 26 bucks an hour. And I'm like, what the fuck is that, dude? Like,
Mhm.
you know, the guy's been there for 20 years. It's like,
Right.
that's fucked up, you know? So, but that's like you said, manipulation.
Mhm.
That's what they're looking for. And they can dangle the little fucking carrot out in front of you and never give it to
Yep.
you know?
Yeah. So when it comes to working with people, your default should always be to lead them. That should be your
Mhm.
default. But that brings up the question, when should you really manage a person? And I think one of the easiest examples is when you have someone that is not consistently performing to the expectation.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's when you've got to draw those people in. Now this may be you as the owner, this may be your team leader, this may be something, but you need to have a conversation and you need to pull that person in close. And that part of that conversation is setting the expectation of like, hey, you and I, again, this is post some of the conversations, again, erroring on leadership, seek to understand, hey, these are the behaviors that I'm seeing. Help me understand what's going on. Man,
Mhm.
I've been fucking, I'm going through a divorce. My wife's been sick or like, okay, great. Like, just fucking communicate with me, man. Life happens to you.
Mhm.
If your operational capacity's down, don't lead me to believe that you're just fucking off.
Mhm.
Right? We need a better relationship with that.
Right.
Inform me. We don't have to tell the world, but
Mhm.
inform me enough information that I can make a good business decision,
Mhm.
and I'll fucking help you any way I can.
Yeah, and
So
I
seek to
yeah.
understand.
And I think that's the huge part of it too is like, you know, on a leadership perspective, you gotta be there for your team. And I think sometimes managing them is being there for them.
Mhm.
If we're getting too far apart on alignment, like we gotta do some managing or on skill, you know, like people keep fucking shit up. You know, they keep making dumb mistakes, then you need to start managing them a little closer at
Yeah.
that point too.
So when you start managing people, and I like that you said that because the skill is a great example. When you start managing people, you now are putting boundaries on their decision making abilities.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because they need to improve their skill set, and that skill may not be just reading a tape measure or using a bandsaw or welding, it might be reading plans appropriately.
Mhm.
Like, "Oh, you keep putting fucking knife plates in the wrong place."
Yeah.
Okay, then we need to manage this problem for a while, and we're gonna need to manage those people to do that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean I mean, like you said, it's gonna be awkward for both of you,
Mhm.
and I think you need to understand that. And you're gonna have to probably, especially if you are dialing somebody back due to you know skill issues or fuck ups or whatever. Like they're gonna be a little upset. You know, like why are you up my ass all of a sudden? Well, because you keep fucking up. That's why.
Mhm.
Like, and you need to. I think you need to be prepared to be a little heavy handed with it.
If you're gonna actually manage someone, you have to apply pressure.
Hmm.
I mean, you're gonna have to lean on them. You're gonna have to pour into them
Mhm.
but you're gonna have to lean on them. You're gonna have to apply pressure, and you're gonna have to set the expectations like, "Look, from for a while, for the next 2 weeks, the next month, until this problem is solved, I am gonna manage the shit out of you, and I'm
Mhm.
gonna set that expectation. So, because I'm gonna manage you, this is where we're starting.
Mhm.
You fucking better be here at this time, and you better be ready, and you better be prepared, and you better be organized, and your shit better be done, and you better
Mhm.
be working on your fucking skill every week, and
Mhm.
you and I are gonna set benchmarks. You don't want me to manage you because A, if the company's large enough, you have people doing this. But if I am managing you, I
Mhm.
promise you're gonna want that to be over as fucking fast as possible.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I
Yeah.
because I will clear my fucking schedule,
Mhm.
and I am going we're
Yeah.
gonna fix this problem.
Yeah. And also, like, you don't wanna work next to me. If I gotta go out in the field and we're gonna go out and I'm gonna set pace on
Mhm.
your ass, you are not gonna
Oh,
fucking
yeah,
like that pace.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And but also being the leader, okay, you have to recognize that there are times that you have to stop. You have to meet people on their level, and you have to manage their moves. You have to manage their process. You have to manage them through this to get them out on the other side so you can lead them moving forward.
Mhm.
And yes, as a leader, you have to fucking set the pace.
Right.
And yep, here's the rule. You fucking get more than 5 feet away from me unless I'm taking a shit,
Mhm.
you're going
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
Like, you better keep the fuck up.
Mhm.
And and that there's a lot to be said for that too, and I think it's important for, leaders, and again, I know some of this conversation is gonna sound contradictory to some people because, you know, just the leaders don't have to be the ones that are best at the skill.
Mhm.
It's a great compliment if you are, but they
Mhm.
don't have to be. But again, I know working at Battleborn Welding, I still don't know how to use a fucking welder, but I know every time I worked on a job site, I set the pace.
Mhm. Yep.
And that's because that's what fucking leaders do.
Mhm.
And you do that and you don't have to manage people, but a lot when you have to manage someone, you're solving a serious problem.
Mhm. Yeah, they're probably 1 foot in, 1 foot out at that
Mhm.
point, you know? And it could
And
be behavioral or it could be, like
right.
we said, skill related or whatever.
Yeah. So behavioral, I think that's a great example is, how do people behave when something doesn't go their way? And that's a broad stroke of maybe someone didn't do what they said, maybe the job didn't go the way they wanted, maybe the vendor didn't deliver what they asked for, maybe
Mhm.
regardless, all of that falls into this pot of things didn't go the way I wanted. So how do they respond? Well,
Mhm.
a lot of immature leaders and a lot of these managers have these behavioral temper tantrums,
Mhm.
right? And it infects the culture and it affects the mood of everybody else. And now you have someone that is immediately their behavior is now acceptable because no one's handling it.
Mhm.
So if I'm managing your behavior, now you're under a microscope. When you make the decision, and this is where adults have a really hard time with this because this is where accountability is. But when you make the decision to act irrationally or
Mhm.
act like a 3-year-old that just lost his sucker, like, that's a decision that you're making.
Mhm.
And so now I'm in charge of fucking managing you
Mhm.
and your behavior. This is the decision that I'm making.
Right.
You go sit in the fucking corner and shut up. Like,
That's a bad one.
I will happily treat you in a way that is equivalent to the age in which you behave.
Mhm.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It's not gonna last very long, but
Mhm.
you're gonna have to grow out of that really fast. And and interestingly enough, like, part of this managing people process is coaching people up or coaching people out.
Mhm. Right. Right. Yeah, and I think that's, I think there's a really fine line between coaching and managing, you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, I coach high school football. Half the time it feels like I'm managing people. Tell them the same fucking thing 12 goddamn times in one fucking day. Quit standing straight up. What do they do? Stand straight up.
Straight up.
Yeah, I feel like I could be so much more of effective of a coach if, like, once a week I could put pads on
Right.
and just fucking wreck a couple of them, you know?
Just
Like,
yeah,
just
just be more hands-on, you know?
right, right, right.
This is why you don't stand up. Now you're
Yeah,
laying flat.
yeah.
So
Now you got the wind knocked out of you. Look at that.
and you're dead. You're
Yeah,
dead.
right.
Yeah.
But
But
at least with, with what we're talking about here, you do get to
mhm,
do that. You do get to throw the fucking hood on and go out and set pace and show
mhm,
people the skill, or, you know,
mhm,
show them how they're doing it wrong. And it is managing, but there is, I think there's a time and a place for it, and it's not a time and a place you want to be in.
mhm.
Like, things have kind of fallen apart if you got to start doing this.
Yeah. One of the things that's important for people to recognize is that they don't misinterpret behavior. Here's what I mean by that. If someone is not consistently meeting the expectation,
Hmm.
we immediately interpret that as it's a behavior problem,
Hmm.
that it's an attitude problem. And I know that's probably my default. When you break it down and you get involved with that individual, what I have learned a lot of times is people are in an area that's outside of their operational excellence. It's
Hmm.
outside of their operational capacity because our egos don't allow us to go, I shouldn't have this job. I shouldn't be in this position. This is above me. This is out of my wheelhouse, AKA, I need help.
Hmm.
Since since our fucking egos don't allow us to do that, we take it and we just charge after it because we're knuckle dragging motherfuckers and we're like, I'll figure it out. And then we continue to lose again and again and again and again. The perception is that we have a behavior problem.
Hmm.
And also, I mean, there is a part that is behavior problem because if you're not asking for help and you're not being truthful and you're not looking and going, hey, I don't understand this, that is a behavior problem. But we have to look at it really and go, damn, I've got this individual in an area that's so far outside of their operational capacity. It doesn't matter how fucking good their behavior is, they were never going to win.
Hmm. Right, right.
And so when you look at managing the process or micromanaging people or leading people, that goes back to the seek to understand. It's like you really need to identify what the problem is, right? We're experiencing a symptom.
Hmm.
Okay. Again, late to work is a symptom. Disorganization is a symptom. Not
Hmm.
getting the job done on time is a symptom.
Hmm.
Poor behavior is a symptom. Poor communication is a symptom. These are fucking symptoms. What's the problem? But we attack the systems as if they are a problem, and we also attack them as if there's no other solution than what I have right now.
Hmm. Yeah.
So you have to be careful of that.
It's easy to get single track minded in those situations, and I think a lot of us, especially when we're in the shit, we got a hard time pulling our fucking head out of our ass and going, is this a symptom or is this the problem?
Mhm.
And it's hard to identify sometimes.
Very,
Mhm.
especially in the moment, in the shit. I mean, it's
Right.
very, very difficult to recognize. But there are just times that you need to manage people. And the last point that I'll make on this is if you're putting yourself in a position to manage someone, that's a hyper state. That's a hyper state of investing.
Hmm.
That means that you have committed to keep that individual and
Right.
that individual is committed to stay. So it's a hyper state of investment.
Hmm.
Okay, we know that we want to work together. We also know that this is the problem. This is my path and this is how I'm going to manage you in the process. And this is the goal that we're after.
Hmm.
It's a heightened state of investment. And I think that's what's really important. I don't think that you have to continue to micromanage people to try to get them to change to be on your team. That's
Yeah.
what conversations are for. That's what clear fucking RREs are for. That's what
Hmm.
systematic operations are for. That's what when you have conversation, go, hey, how come you're late again?
Hmm.
Right? If I'm gonna have a conversation with you about that, I'm not immediately gonna start micromanaging
Hmm.
your arrival.
Right. Right.
You
Yeah.
know? that this is a state beyond
What are you gonna do? Go pick them up from their house in the morning?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I will call your house and
Mhm.
I will knock on your door at 4:35 to make sure. Yep. No, I'm not going to do that. But I think again, and the reason I say that is because if you understand that this can be leveraged as a positive, just to solve a negative, I think it's very beneficial to
Mhm.
do when you have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, circumstantial. That's
Mm.
don't go be a fucking manager. Like it should be something you don't want to do. You know, if you're a good leader, this should
Mhm.
be something you don't want to do and it's out of necessity.
Yep. I completely agree. Completely agree. What's my dog doing?
Just fucking staring at me, drooling all over my
Lush.
fucking pants.
Lush.
Yeah. She
Ah,
misses you. She's like,
ah.
usually when you yell into that black thing, Aunt Josh is here.
We wrestle for 15 minutes before
Right? Yeah.
we record. How is football practice?
It's yeah. I don't know how great the year is going to be. We got a lot of kids that are ineligible, so I think we have like half of our line. Our
Yeah.
depth got fucked. And we had a scrimmage last week, and it didn't look so hot. But
Yeah.
it's just like it's just the younger guys, man. It's just
Mhm.
weird. When we played, we wanted to bang. We played smash mouth football. We made you not want to be on that fucking field with us anymore. We love stepping up and getting the big hits, and it just a lot of the kids aren't like that anymore.
Mhm.
It's just a different generation, different mindset. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hope they can pick it up, but
Yep.
but also varsity took like 5 kids up this year
Damn.
from JV.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they fucked us. So I mean, they took some talent with them.
Yeah, stealing the talent, those
Yeah,
fuckers.
yeah.
How's Cat in the new house?
Good. We're actually doing our housewarming party on the 24th of August. If you'd like to
Nice.
make your way back here.
Let me see if my jet's available.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but dude, it just having the extra space is so nice,
Mhm.
and like just being a homeowner again. That I didn't like renting. That was
Yeah.
just I've owned a home for fucking 10 years now, and after the divorce, I had to go rent. And they were so bummed to see me go too. They were like, "You were the best fucking tenant ever,"
Mhm.
and they're like, "You never called us. The house looks exactly the way it did when you moved in." And like the dishwasher broke, and I was like, "Yeah, just send a new one. I'll put it in." The garage door opener broke.
Mhm.
Just send a new one. I'll put it in. So they were like, "Dude, you were great."
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Fucking
owned a house before.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, built-in property manager.
Hmm.
Yeah. Good. Good deal. Well, tell Cat I said hey and
Yep.
pet the dog for me
All
and
right.
we'll
I'll
get the
smack
fuck
her
out of
around
here.
a little bit for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She likes it. She likes it rough.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can find Nate on Instagram at NateNewton87. I am on Instagram at The Tradesman Experience. Email is thetradesmanexperience@gmail.com. Website's thetradesmanexperience.com. And the YouTube channel is The Tradesman Experience. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. Get out there, get shit done. Be proud to be a tradesman. See ya.